Hey everybody, here we are once again on another episode of TFG Radio. This episode, you'll notice there are a number of different people uh, because today it's an all judge episode with Jess. We have Jessie, which we've had on before with the ACO. We have Will, who I think is below me if you're looking at the screen, and the only one without a camera because apparently we need at least one person who does not have a camera. We have Nate.
I have a camera. I just didn't turn it on.
Um, the fifth
Break the-
judge, Dave. Normally, I only have four people on, including myself, so I had to pick three out of the four judges that were at LSO. So LSO, the weekend's over. The event's over, as everybody knows. That's all everyone talks about. Um, in leading up to this episode, I've decided to title it LSO: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, um, since we seem to have a bit of all three. So we'll start chronologically, and we'll start with the very beginning, where we had we had a player that had been, from Frontline's perspective, had been on a ban. He has to come back. We said okay, and I said, but you has to be at this event, which was LSO. And there was a bit of a, I'll call it a kerfuffle. And once people found out that he was coming,
Community outcry.
well, that's one way to describe it. I like to say kerfuffle because I like using that word. Um, but at least on my end, people had started to ask about maybe not playing that person, which, as mentioned by Jake, is an option we give, but it's not an option to like use all the time. Normally we give it out maybe before, maybe during, usually during an event, especially once they find out they're paired or they might get paired into somebody, and they usually give us a reason why. Um, and again, someone asked me, and I said sure, it's not a big deal. And then I guess word got out. I'm assuming because then a lot of people started asking me about it. So, and then there's the comments on the internet that and and so and I am, to be fully transparent, I was or am aware of that player's history. Um, but in terms with any organization, when they make a decision, you just give your input. I am not the final decision maker. I will admit that. Many people think I am, but I'm actually not. And these guys should. Well, in most cases, I'm not. During the actual tournament, I usually am. But outside of the actual tournament, I'm usually not the final decider in things. So, so then it was decided to let him give him a chance, basically. And so, I mean, Nate and Will, you guys were like in the thick of it. I don't know what people told you because I'm assuming people knew you guys were helping, right?
Yeah, we so just I'm glad you brought this up. We had kind of a similar issue at Texas Open, our event, um, where he registered without any of our knowledge or whatever, and we added in and those sorts of things, and we got a lot of the similar feedback of like, I can't believe this, I want a refund, I'm not going to play him, that kind of thing. And from my perspective, and from Nate's perspective too, he had not yet received a ban because it was just after some of his actions at a previous LSO. So he had not received like any sort of a formal ban or anything like that. He had just kind of been zeroed out for that particular event. And he had never attended a TXO before, with us at that time being kind of a newer event on our circuit. So having no bans, having no previous interaction with this player as individuals or as, TOs, it was kind of hard for us to be like, no, you can't attend. However, kind of like what happened this year, community response kind of drives that. And I sent out an email and said, like, look, guys, I don't want to tell anyone not to attend an event, right? Now, with the feedback from the community, we had taken steps internally as event organizers to kind of protect the event from any of those sorts of shenanigans happening, because we had heard what had occurred at an event a couple months before us.
Right.
So, we already had it set up to kind of, we had kind of guardrails set up where we were going to have a dedicated judge that was well versed in the army that he was bringing, that was going to sit at his table and be dedicated to his table for the entirety of the event to make sure that there was no shenanigans that could possibly happen. But apparently that, wasn't enough for the community. So, we, kind of asked him, hey, we don't think it's a good idea. The community outpour is, immense to the point that it could negatively impact us in our ability to, have the event. So kind of like what you guys did this year, it just kind of came to a head that, hey, it's for the best interest of everyone, for yourself and the community, just to not attend. So
I will say.
Uh-huh.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Nate, because mine is just to kind of wrap up the whole situation.
Yeah, to be courteous and not just slam someone. I have dealt with him as a TO at Dallas Open before, not the GW one, but my old one, and at the first LSO. I can't say how he deals with players and stuff, but he's always been respectful and courteous to me. So I just didn't want to leave on a whole note of like, this person's a cheater, this person, we tried to help steer him or anything. Like, don't get it wrong that he's just some terrible person that just wants to cheat toy soldiers. I've had plenty of good dealings with him, just not at the table directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess one question that came up, and is that like, and I think Jake mentioned this at one point, but I think it's become part of the conversation that some people had, was like, I guess, like, how many chances do you give somebody, or how much?
Yeah, like to deny somebody redemption.
Yeah, at what point do you not give them that chance at redemption anymore? For him, it seemed like it had been, and I know his history, but I don't know all of his history. And there's plenty of people that know all of his history, and to them, that's what they take into account, and they felt like he never had that he would never repent, so to speak.
Yeah. So, and that could be true. And I will say, I don't think that particular individual does themselves any favors in regards to the active, comments and replies on the interwebs that, forever, right? Like, I think that's probably another big hurdle that individual will have to overcome in their own mind at some point, just to say, like, this isn't doing me any good. I should just stop. And because if you give everyone enough time, the waters will quell no matter how big the wave was, right? Like, the waters eventually quell. So I think it's one of those that if that individual just lets the waters quell fully, could potentially have an opportunity for redemption. And look, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt and say, I do think that there's a potential desire there to, mitigate and make corrections and those sorts of things for any future games and opponents and events. But at the same time, with the community response being what it has been, and likely will be in the foreseeable future at least, I don't think that's going to be something that individual will have an opportunity to do. But again, they're not doing themselves any favors in letting the waters quell.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Yeah, like we always say.
I think Texas is in a pretty interesting situation, though, because, like, I've judged all over. We just got back from Atlantic City before this, and then coming to Texas. The community in Texas is pretty tight-knit, which can be, like, a good pro, because it's like this individual, even if he just starts off small, going to, like, RTTs that are a part of, like, TCC to just kind of, like, get some good faith back might not be, like, a bad thing. And, like, that's, a good path y'all have to offer too, because it's people can change. There's people in the community who have done so and are, hyper vigilant about, restoring their reputation. So, like, I think it's good to offer people that, and, Texas is in a good spot to do that.
Yep. And some that haven't, right? I'll be the first one to drop the hammer on anybody that tries to get that second, third, fourth chance, whatever number it may be, and you give them that chance and they don't execute on it. Hey, highway or hard way, right? Like, I'll give you the hard way if that's what you want, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to facilitate an easier path if you can execute on it. But at the same time, I'll also be harder on anybody that can't make those corrections, because I'll also be one of your biggest proponents to give you that redemption tour and support you in it. I would step up and do that, but at the same time, I'll also be the other end of that spectrum. I'll be the wall you run into, if you back on that or falter on it. So,
yeah, not easy to repair broken trust kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So after all that, we come to the actual weekend. Typical for me, I don't know about you guys, but because I'm the one that sets the BCP with the list and everything like that, I just had the usual going through lists. When I mean going through, I mean entering them and correcting ones that's found mistakes, which we'll discuss later. But day one, we met up in the morning. We get the paint judging. I just want to talk about that a little bit, because out of all the ones I've been to outside of LVO, this I think is the most amount of people that have gotten paint judged. It had to be at least, it's like 50 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. LSOE generally gets a lot of people who want paint judging. That's a good thing. I know that we had like 20 plus making into showcase.
Yes.
That's always kind of neat to see, and I would say they all deserved it too.
Yeah.
It was definitely hectic trying to get all of them judged before round one.
And compared to like,
the hobby is strong.
Yeah, compared to like ACO, where
we had like a dozen.
Yeah.
That one judgment. Yeah.
Maybe 20. Maybe. I have to look again, but I don't think it was more than 20. I think the most after that would probably be maybe Cherokee, because Cherokee has similar numbers of attendance to LSO. But I noticed that, especially in speaking of the numbers, speaking of the numbers, that LSO is the largest event outside of LVO, and it beat Cherokee by 55 players.
Yeah. I think there was something like 320 registered players I was looking this week.
It was 324 tickets sold, and then 307 at the start of round one.
At the door, yep.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good number. I don't like the odd number, but that's just a TO thing probably.
Yeah. Don't like anyone to have a bye round, especially round one.
Yeah.
Want to play games, yeah.
So the weekend goes on. Basically, what I know we gave out, it seemed like we gave out an inordinate amount of yellow cards. I felt not like malicious yellow cards, but that included like list corrections, simple mistakes. I think a couple of them, things like that. There were maybe one or two hard yellows. I don't think.
I was gonna say I don't remember. This is the first time probably in a while. I don't think I've had to give one out.
We gave one.
It seemed like a pretty chill weekend.
Well, there was the double loss, and then
that one,
was, crap. I think there was one more. Jake is gonna get
the war gear for one of the players that he discovered kind of late, so we hit him with
that one.
Yeah, he was like 4-0. Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah,
that one I almost.
Yeah, there was.
I almost feel like it was more of a softer yellow, not a hard yellow. I have a difference between soft and hard, but in terms of
I'd say that was a soft one, and he even admitted he just forgot to click the button.
Yeah, he admitted to us, but I think it was caught on stream.
Well, there was one too where they didn't have their detachment, and they were 3-0 at that point going into day two as well. I think we gave a yellow too, because that's your opponent shouldn't have to try to deduce and figure out what you're playing.
Yep.
And I make a distinction between list yellow. This is the only time I make a distinction between list yellow and gameplay yellow. They're both yellows, but the difference is the gameplay yellow affects Paragon and best overall.
Right.
And that's really the only difference. You still earn the yellow for the list infraction, so if you were to get another one, it would be a red. But in terms of like prize support, the list one doesn't really count, because I'm not gonna tell someone they can't win Paragon if it was just a list error that they caught before the event. or that was caught.
Right.
I don't, in general, I don't attribute malicious intent when people need to change their list after lists are revealed, because it's
Yep.
like a 2-day window usually. For LVO, it's like a 1-day window because it's from Wednesday to Thursday, and then it starts on Friday. But I may push it back to up to Thursday to get people less time to like tailor their list, because that can be accused of people. If
It also depends on what the change is too.
yeah. It also
Yeah, like
Hey,
that.
I didn't click this button is different than, hey, I have these 2 units, but I wanted these 2 units.
right. And
Yeah.
to
Yep.
me, it also depends if it's the same person every event.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, before my signal went to shit. I know one of the yellows we gave out was because they didn't have their detachment.
Yeah.
There was another one too that I just remembered where this individual was playing Death Guard and they were playing like Mortarian's Hammer and had Nurglings in their list.
Oh,
And when we went to talk to them, they were like, "Oh, I just did it on pen and paper, the old school way." So
Okay.
that was their admission of how they got Nurglings in that list.
Did you build it for him, the list, to show him, or?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Will or Nate handled that.
Yeah. And it's things like that, especially when they're new, because you get at these events you get a lot of new players. A large percentage are new players. It's their first tournament, so I try to be more lenient in a lot of ways with like proxies, which I probably shouldn't, but 9 times out of 10, it's like with the way GW, the way their supply chain is and their supply issues right now.
yeah.
I'm not going
And
to punish
some,
someone because something's out of stock.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's
or just in FOMO period.
yeah, and at the same time, it's just like it's for me anyway. It's a judgment call. Some TOs and judges might be a little more harsh in like, no, if it's this, it's not this, or if it's too obvious. But
My my favorite LVO like proxy conversion, and this was kind of towards the top tables. I noticed A2 was that Tyrannid's Hive Tyrant that was supposed to be like a foot up off the table.
oh,
Do you remember that one?
oh,
Yeah.
wait, maybe I think so. I don't know. They all blur.
Yeah, that one was one was funny.
My favorite's always the guy that wanted to use a Eldar Falcon as one of the flyers, and he even put the Falcon on the flying base.
mm,
It's cool.
I mean, I don't know if you guys, Nate and Will, have anything similar to like, and I don't even know what you guys do for your events in terms of proxy.
so look, if it's like a third party, print or a conversion or something like that, I always default and defer to the rule of cool. Like if it looks cool and I can really make out that is what this model's supposed to be, absolutely, I think go for it. But at the same time, I do think you should reasonably be able to tell,
Right.
Unit, or this is one type of unit, this is a different type of unit, that kind of stuff. But as long as you're following the rule of cool, and I can kind of generally, for the most part, tell, and your opponents will be able to reasonably tell the models apart in their different war gear, I'm cool with it. Outside of that,
Nate, you a hard ass?
No, because like it's dumb things. Like 8th edition, we had 3 different bolters for intercessors.
Oh god, yeah.
Am I gonna make 90 to have 30 of each? No. Like if you're universally saying, hey, all of these are this, and I can clearly deduce, like, yeah, they've got that kind of gear load out, they're the right size, that's fine.
yeah, they have squad markings or
Now, if you
different-
come to 2 events and you keep doing that, and I have people come up to me and say, hey, it was really confusing, then you're stretching it too hard. I'm gonna have a talk with you, but give people the benefit of the doubt. You see so many players sitting there and like, we'll give if you give a 2.5 hour warning, they're still talking about their lists.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, dude, play the game.
Oh yeah.
You're
Remember when
behind.
we had 10 minutes left in the round and that they wanted to split a chess clock?
Well,
That one was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
The best was the first LSO. I walked around and said 2 hours remaining, and there was 2 guys who couldn't get player placed terrain to work. They kept
right.
placing it illegally and have to restart. And I'm telling them they've used up an hour.
Yeah.
So I literally just told them, like, play it as it lies and just go. Because if it's taking you this long, you guys weren't going to finish in 3 hours anyways.
Yeah.
Well, Jessie, like that one, they were, lower table numbers, but That's like that one we had. I think it was like round 2 or 3 at this year's, where we were walking around. We were kind of near each other. We gave the hour remaining notification, and we're like, hey, how are you guys? Or I think 30 minutes remaining. How are you guys coming along? Oh, we're bottom of 2. We've just been having a really good time. We've been having a lot of fun. All right. Cool.
Hey, they were cool with it, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care at all. They were just having fun, which, hey, I'm that way. If I'm having fun at the table, I don't care how the game goes. I just want to have
Right.
interactive, hopefully make a new friend at the table, like have a good time. That's like, I've had those games where, we end up like within 5 or 10 points of each other. We maybe score 50, 60 points. We got through 3 turns, but we had just such a good time. Like, we just don't care.
Right.
Yeah. That was my last game at a Champs Cup last year. I played a gentleman from Canada, and we just had an absolute fucking blast. Like, we finished the game, but like we were just bullshitting so much too. Like those are the games that stick with you for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like we had a game. I had a game 2 LVOs ago with Jake Harding from Vanguard Tactics, and even when I saw Steven Box at DreamHack here in DFW a month or 2 ago, whatever it's been now, I was asking him, I was like, hey, how's Jake, man? Did he not make the trip, etc. Like, I still ask about him every LVO that I'm going to. I see if he's going to go, just so I can meet up with him. Like, we just had such a great, fun game. We spent more than half of our round at the bar. We still finished our game, but it was one of those, this is already determined kind of things. So we just had a great time, went to the bar, and still one of my favorite games of 40K I've ever played, because he was just a great opponent, and he blew me off the table, but I still had a lot of fun. It was so much fun.
That sounds like my games with TJ. Whenever I get to play him, like every few years, we had a great game at Wardome this year too, and it came down to like needing a 7-inch charge versus Bellicor on turn 5, and like I rolled that 5 and just didn't have CP to re-roll it, but it's always nice when you make those memories.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that came up, again, it happened at ACO. It happened again. We went around to check if models were battle ready. And if you listen to our ACO recap, I think we mentioned how there were at least one person or a couple of people that were kind of like upset about it. We admittedly did it late in the tournament, so this time we decided to do it the very first round. We thought, or at least I thought, it was early enough notice. but,
yeah, it was. We did it within 5 minutes of the round starting too. Where people should be at their tables.
And we both still had one player that was upset about being told that their army was not considered battle ready. So
yeah, I generally find like 90% of people know, and they take it in stride, and they're just like, yeah, like sucks, but I get it. And generally, I'm like, if you make like a good faith effort, I'm reasonable. I had one gentleman where I was like, hey, bud, if you can throw some paint on there during lunch and get a few more colors, I was like, you'll be good for the rest of the weekend. And he actually did. I try to give people a little bit to like you're punished for this game if you want to call it, but doesn't mean it has to be all 6 games this weekend.
yeah.
But this guy, he actually did. He followed through, and he put enough on there where I was like, you showed that effort. Like, good job.
Yeah, it's we were more strict in the past where we would actually pull models, but over the years we've gotten a little more lenient, and maybe too lenient because of what happened not this past Cherokee but the year before with the
Thousand Suns that were on stream,
Magnus that were barely primed with some dash of color.
They were like prime black and dry brushed very lightly brown, and like 2 shades of brown, and that was it. Yeah.
So speaking of that, I know one of the questions that came up, Adam, was, what is the rubric for battle ready, right? So I know we had some conversation kind of throughout the week while we were sitting around between rounds or after hours. So one of the things that I think that we kind of discussed, and I'll share here, is that like we've had players in the past where you said 3-color minimum, and they come and they literally like rainbow stripe their models. And we had one guy that kind of threw shade at a previous event where he literally did that. There was no technique involved. It was literally like a brush stroke of a different color over and over across the model in kind of a rainbow pattern, at an angle, right? So I think that's where we got away from 3-color minimum and started going to this battle ready format, right?
Yes.
And we've all seen GW's definitions of battle ready. And I think, look, for the most part, I think it's still in some ways the 3-color standard. However, I think there's a little bit more onto that about, painting your weapons, right? Picking out the metallics, picking out, the Aquila or small details.
The leather, like, why is the leather on your Space Marine the same color as his armor? Like, that's probably something that should have a different, amount of paint on it.
Or the whole,
a different color, like
pistol holster, especially. That's a bigger.
Yeah. Now,
maybe not the strap, but if you have the pistol holder, at least be that leather color. That's
yeah.
more of a pick out than
Yeah.
the strap.
Joke's on you. That's a separate piece. I don't glue it on.
Hey, that's the trick.
Hobby, right?
I think a lot of it is like almost like I think it's more like that case. I can't remember the name of the case, the one about porn, where the judge said, "I don't know how to define it, but I'll know it when I see it."
Yeah,
right.
And I think a lot of us got away from that 3-color, just like you were saying at the beginning, is because people just kind of like started to abuse it, and they were just focusing in on like that 3-color part, and it's like at a minimum, yes, but also like, if you're trying to just do 3 different stripes, like one of the guys that wasn't battle ready this weekend, he was playing GSC, and all of his like trucks, the rock grinders and the whatever, prime black entirely, and then the one gun that's like sticking off the side was red with a silver barrel, and it's like, sure, that's 3 colors, but it's 90% black primer, like 95%. So like, you're not battle ready. And like having to explain it to him.
Right.
The pintle mount weapon on the top of the the porthole on the top of the vehicle, that was all that had paint on it that wasn't primer. Everything else was black primer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why I think the 3-color standard doesn't work. I think that's a great example, Jesse, is like, that's why the 3-color minimum doesn't work, because look, if we're all spending this money to go out and play, and our time, energy, and effort, not just as players but also as organizers, we want the event to look good overall and be enjoyable for everyone and be thematic for everyone and have these cool things that happen in the game as well as with our models, right? And get these really cool moments and these really cool pictures that we can share online. And that does take away from some of it, some of that enjoyment, some of that
immersion.
That immersion and thematicness, right, of any given event or any given game. So that's why I think we have gone to this battle ready as opposed to 3-color minimum. But now, conversely, I would say you could have an army, because I've been thinking about a really cool Tyranid army for a while, using some of the like turbo dark color shift paints and stuff and different glow effects. And I'd probably only have a handful of colors on those models. But with the other stuff I have in mind, between basing and like, drool effects and that kind of stuff, I think you could come up with something really cool and thematic that would probably just barely meet or surpass that 3-color standard. But again, I don't think you question those models as being battle ready on this. Right. So
I've got a 1,000 Suns army like that it's that color shift as well, and 1,000 Suns don't have a lot of like accessory bits. It's a lot of metal to where like, trim. But I painted all that trim though, to where there's no question it's battle ready. I put that time in. But I had a few people this weekend, friends who were there, who asked me like, when we went around checking people and all that, kind of like why we were doing it, and I would tell them, I was like, how many times have you gone to an event where like you've played somebody and you don't want to be the asshole to tell them that they're not battle ready? Because it's kind of a weird social thing for people, but it's like, just let the judges do it. And I think doing like a sanity paint check in the beginning like is a good way to handle that.
But even then, we don't catch it all, because it was that one, the two non-battle ready
5 swooping hawks,
playing each other.
Yeah,
and we didn't catch we caught the first one, but we didn't catch his opponent until he pointed it out.
Yeah, because it was full Bear Gray swooping hawks that like
Yeah.
were just tucked away in a corner during our first check. But
So even then,
Yep.
I mean, do we have to check twice now, before and after, or
Or just
Yeah.
stay through the event like we did. I guess that's, check round one, but also go back and,
Yeah.
continue doing this like we did. That's really all you can do.
Yeah, because the way we do it right now is that at least two judges, sometimes three, have to agree that
Agreed.
it doesn't look battle ready. So if you see an army and you ask somebody, they could be like, "Oh yeah, I saw that army and I talked to them already." So
yeah,
That's like the SC one, right? Like
yeah.
I did it. I went and said, "Hey guys, I don't think this guy's battle ready. You might want to go take a look." Y'all went and took a look. Yeah, we agree. Same thing, right?
Well,
but
yeah.
again,
more importantly, it's like no one said, "Oh yeah, I already talked to him."
yep.
You
yeah,
know what I mean? So it wasn't caught in the beginning, but it was caught eventually. But I
Yep.
think,
yeah.
I mean, the person we caught the person we talked to in that first round with the Thousand Suns that were block colors essentially.
Yeah.
I know how it feels like you're being targeted because you're not talking to anybody else because everyone around you is battle ready, or two, it kind of sets you off and like it kind of rattles you a little. It might some people it might rattle them.
Yeah,
Don't care.
it's
They just don't. Okay, I won't get my 10 points. Whatever. We're just gonna play.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I always try to like put an emphasis on the like you're not being excluded or you're not being singled out. Like
Yeah.
we have checked everybody, and there was plenty of people who were told that they weren't battle ready. You're just the one next to you. So I was like, you're not seeing those, but like they'll still come up and just go, well, what about this person? What about this person? You know?
Yeah, and that's gonna happen because
Yeah.
it's kind of jarring. I think for some people, not everybody.
Yeah.
When that happens. So, I mean, I empathize, but at the same time, we can't. That first round is probably the best time to do it because we can't do it before because no one has their armies out.
Right.
Yeah.
And the later we do it, the worse it is because now they've gone, let's say, 4 out of 5 rounds or 4 out of 6, and they've already.
Unless we just do it, like Will was saying, TSA checkpoint style. Show me your models before the game even starts.
That would.
Yeah, but have a backlog like TSA, right? Where
Yeah.
before you can even
Yeah.
start.
There was.
So
There
it's
was
I told you before. I said before you joined the call, it only takes 25 judges to do it in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and where I think
All right, put your models on the table. Okay,
Yeah.
put them back.
I think that's where FLG and the TCC do it right. Where because I've been to some other larger events, out of state or not within the TCC or not an FLG event where the judges aren't as active, right? They're more reactive. They don't walk through the crowd. They don't look at what's going on at tables. They're not paying attention to the games. They're not paying attention to the models. They just wait for someone to call a judge and then they go and they react, right? I think that's where FLG does it right and where TCC does it right, where we do active judging. We're out there with the players, walking around, monitoring games, listening to what's happening in the game, looking at the models on the table, interjecting if we have to, right? And saying, hey, that's how you do this, or hey, that model is very clearly out of coherency if it's a part of that unit.
Right.
Just those little things. I think that's where active judging plays a really important part in our collective community. So I really like the way that FLG does it. I really like the way that the TCC does it, or the Texas Championship Circuit, with those active judges just being actively present and involved and intermingling and interjecting if they have to, those sorts of things. I think it's a really good thing.
And speaking of that, there were a few questions over the weekend that came about, and that some that were repeatedly asked. I don't remember anything because usually when I'm called, it's like
It's bad.
it's like that just to confirm, or just to. Usually, I said usually.
Or I don't like the answer I was given. Let me talk to the manager.
Oh well, there's that too. But usually, I agree with whatever was given. So usually, 9 times.
Dear Karen, don't get me started on consolidation moves. Okay, I don't want to talk.
Will is
I still got-
apparently the consolidation expert because that.
I had a pile in one to where it was an ongoing combat, and they were like, "Hey, am I allowed to pile in?" Yeah. each time you fight.
Right.
Cool.
The big one I had, which I can't name names because I don't keep track of anyone's names, but it happened round 5 on the undefeated row, and it happened all over the tournament. The number of people that still don't know how the GW area terrain mats or acrylics work.
Yes.
The fact that someone was like 4-0 or 5-0 at this point and is still not understanding that makes me know that their army needs to be nerfed really badly.
We'll talk about that.
I don't know how area terrain works, but I'm undefeated.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but yes. Obviously the common question right now anyway, at the start of almost, especially on day 2 and a little bit on day 1, is when the terrain is facing the wrong way, and it's
the Sector 13 set.
And if it's the District 13 set, you can just take it apart and flip it because that's the way it's built. However, if you're playing the Orc set, and depending what the layout is, you're kind of stuck. So,
yeah, there was I remember day 1. It was really funny, just walking by the tables, and I could tell people didn't know because their solution was let's just flip the terrain upside down and like those pieces. So it was really easy to walk by and just show people, which, like the District 13 sets, I think are really good and kind of like addition proof a little bit because they give you enough pieces that are reversible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the good thing about it.
The 4 large L's and the 6 small L's, they're all reversible.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just built mine after picking it up at LSO. I just built mine this week. So yeah, I've seen the reverse in action.
I think there's 2 sets that the little pegs are actually glued on, so you can't reverse it.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2 buildings, but like
those are the U shape.
The C's,
Yeah,
U's or C's, whatever you guys want to call them.
Yeah, whatever letter.
But I was gonna ask, like, so other than that, I don't think there was anything else in terms of questions wise. Anything else that stuck out in terms of like, there was one question about removing which models you can remove when you're trying to go back into coherency, which someone said I think Will said that you talked to somebody like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. You want to describe?
No, it's a guy on a guy in one of my groups does it.
Nate. So you want to describe it?
Yeah. So it makes sense once I ruled it. I'll admit I ruled it wrong. We ruled it wrong Saturday night, and then we looked it over because the guy asked us to. So the rules of fixing coherency say that you can remove any model, and they do that because you can have 2 self-sufficient legal blobs of coherency.
Right.
So you have to be able to pull coherent models. And what some players are doing is they're purposely setting themselves up to where, like, 1 kill in melee, they're going to create a coherency problem. And then they're going to pull models until they're no longer in combat at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
And then they fix coherency once they've pulled out of combat.
So basically what we're getting to here is, like, you lose casualties, you can pull models based off of casualties where it would cause a coherency issue. Then when you get to end of turn and you check coherency, you would remove models that are out of coherency
that were engaged
until you get back into coherency. Yeah.
Well,
so that you don't have to fall back and shoot. Yeah.
But you can pull coherent models first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just once you're done, you have to be in coherency. So you pull coherent model, and then you make sure the last one that's out of coherency is the last model you pull. And look, now I'm not in combat anymore.
Right. Now I'm free to move and do whatever I want without any of the penalty.
Yeah. Without a fallback move or anything else. Yep.
I don't know if there was anything else that came to mind in terms of complexity.
No, just really interesting ones that people came up with on their own, but I wouldn't say they were complex or interesting questions.
Well, we the one that kind of with coherency as well, that Jessie and I talked about, which is if you had a character that was precisioned out, there was only 1 model left in the unit. When that model died, they were not in coherency. When the character died, the character had a stand back up ability. They passed that ability. The model has to come back as close as possible to where it died. However, it's not going to be in coherency at the end. Do you remove that? Well, through kind of researching and looking things up, adding models back to a unit, You do have to put it as close as possible to where it died, but also within coherency and outside of an inch. So in this instance, yeah, within engagement. So we had a model from the bodyguard unit that was engaged with another model from the opponent's unit.
Mm-hmm.
So what we ended up having to do was put that model as close as possible, but within coherency, but also outside of engagement range of the model that the bodyguard unit was engaged with. So it was very complex, but fairly straightforward once you got down to the root of it. So still put the model back, still put it within that 2-inch coherency, but still as close as possible as it could be while still being in coherency, and then still outside of that 1-inch engagement range.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's always like the knowing how to read the rules commentary and like where to look for certain things.
Yeah.
Because, like I think this is like my 5th major judging this year, 4th or 5th one, like just picked up a lot of different things where like it's those hidden away things where it's like, see this section here, go there, and then it might link to another one, or like, consolidating without making attacks. Like, let's say you tank shock something and kill it in the charge phase.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're still technically able to consolidate, even though there's nothing within 4 inches of you. Well, this is consolidate specifically. You can consolidate like back onto a point, but that's not in consolidate at all. It's in select targets for the fight phase. So like sometimes stuff is just hidden.
The way it's organized is it seems very haphazard at times. So especially
like 80% of the time it's good. It's that last like 20%. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the weekend overall, for the most part, went fairly smoothly. I don't know what's the meta like in general. If not Dallas, then in Texas, like in Southern California, there's a lot of chaos. Whether chaos is up or down, whether it's Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard, Chaos Knights, there's a lot. Southern California is a chaos area.
So it's chaos here too.
Yeah, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of guard players.
There's a lot of knights.
There's a lot of knights. So
Everyone can have a pocket knight army.
I actually have a theory that pertains to both knights and necrons. In my opinion, those two armies are the lowest barrier to entry from a hobby perspective.
Yes.
If they're decent or better, you're always going to see a surplus of them at any given event, no matter the meta, just because of the fact that they have such a low barrier to entry on the number of models you have to assemble or the ease of painting them, like in the case of necrons, right? Like you can spray them silver, wash on them, pick out some highlights, and you can make a Necron army look pretty decent pretty quickly and easily, right? So I think you're always going to see a lot of Necrons and a lot of Knights, whether Imperial or Chaos, when they're decent or better, because it doesn't take a lot of hobby skill or effort or time to get those onto the table and playable. I think that's
that hobby lag,
I mean, and the funny thing is that they're also the army that, Knights anyway, whether it's Chaos or Imperial, they're also the army that a lot of hobbyists like, if they want to like place, excel at.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do the hobby aspect, the judging, because I suck at that anyway. But I try to get people like Jessie. We had was it Kevin, I think it was.
Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin. And then we have other, and then depending where we go, we try to get local people that are excellent hobbyists to do the judging and the showcase. Because if I have to do it, I mean, I color with crayon. Yeah. So I think Knights, at least from what I've seen, Knights always make a showcase because they're so big. There's a lot to play with in terms of like that
surface
to
especially
do
Chaos.
Well, yeah,
Chaos, like
it's like the orc effect.
All the conversions and the things you can stack on it.
Yeah,
it's a little easier to make them stand out than I would say Imperial sometimes.
Oh yeah. I think Imperial has more freehand, but
I think I tend to see that more.
Chaos has more conversions, almost like orcs, basically.
Yeah,
So I just asked because I noticed as we got towards the end of the weekend, it was less and less Knights, and we still had like, in the top 10 going into the final round, we still had like 3 or 4 guard players, but only like, and by that time, the last knight player, which is Imperial Knights, had already lost. It was like 4-1 going into the last round. But we still had, I think, 3 Death Guards. And that's
There's a lot of Death Guard.
And that's with a couple mirror matches. Well, we had like almost 40 Death Guard players out of 300. So,
well, in Death Guard, maybe they fall in the same category, right? Like,
yeah,
you kind of have a little bit of leeway to make them look decent or better because you can just kind of grunge them up and it looks natural and fitting, right? So,
well, also Death Guard were the 8th edition starter, right?
Yes,
I think so.
Yes, it was.
I think that has a lot to do with it because 8th edition brought a lot of people back. It got a lot more people into the hobby.
Yeah,
and there's
and
also
you had those easy to buy boxes.
Yeah. See that? Yeah, those sets are still out there if you look.
Yeah.
At them, so.
And that
Dark Imperium,
maybe that's the same thing with the Indominus box in 9th, I think it was, for Necrons too.
That was the
that was
because 10th is Nids.
I know Death Guard's gotten 3 pretty good boxes for people to get into.
A lot of boxes. They've got a lot of love from GW, that's for sure.
Well, and their box sets too, like their combat patrols and what is it, Get Started or whatever.
Yeah.
Like those have all, or Start Collecting. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Those are all their boxes for Death Guard are pretty flexible, where you're going to probably use the majority of the models in that box.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So Death Guard did win the event, and so that brings us to the end cap, which you can debate whether he's either the bad or the ugly. We did have one player had an extra Hellbrood, and that brings up and that I can't talk too much about it because it's still fresh. So if you're looking for a resolution or commentary about that, I can't give it to that extent. From what I can say is that it's been dealt with both by Frontline, and in some way the TCC, because we're part of it this year. So that's all. That's all. For me, though, it comes the question, and we talked about it a little bit, of how did, and this includes the judges, to be honest, how did no one recognize that the player had an extra model, and that the player, I mean, we didn't notice, and his opponents didn't notice. So you're talking about 11 people at the very least. Now, I'm going to say...
I know for my... Sorry.
I'm going to say for me... We can both talk individually. But for me, when I check lists, I'm not checking... he has possessed, there's possessed. I'm not doing it that. I'm looking at chess to see if the list is legal. And as far as I know, he had a legal list.
Yeah.
I mean, when we go around checking I guess what we could do is, it would take a little longer, but if we're checking for...
A lot longer.
I guess we could check for lists. And nobody who carries a paper list nowadays?
That's what I was about to say, was the whole, those people that still enforce paper copies could be onto something, because if you're using the app, right, I have access to my opponent's list the entire time.
Right.
I'm going to glance at it at the start of the game. That's probably it.
Right.
If I ever am looking at a list, it's to see what I'm playing, like detachment.
Right.
Or it's the night before and list got shown early. But I never look at lists as a player. But it's there.
Either they didn't do it, which I highly doubt, their opponents or his opponent, or they did like you did, just a quick skim, and then when he talks about his list, they're just like, okay, and maybe they thought they have a Hellbrute, which is what the model was.
Right.
Yeah.
Most CSM lists, almost all, have a Hellbrute because they're really good for what they do for the amount of points.
Especially that archetype of pack-bound zealots with vehicle span.
I played that detachment, and I had 2 of them. And
so
really,
for me,
really good.
I think it's twofold. I've talked about it with some of our local players, like here at our meetup nights and things like that, where since this has happened, I think it's twofold. I think one is you take a whole slew of models that you're used to taking, and then you show up and you're like, oh shoot, that one wasn't in. I shouldn't have played with that. I've done that. I haven't done it at a large event, I'm a little bit more meticulous with how I, pack my bags and travel, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I could very easily see how something like that could happen.
Right.
And then two, and again, I've done it at, local meetup nights at FO or LGSs and things like that, where like, oh shoot, I realized I played with an extra unit or whatever. But
or even down a unit.
Yeah, I've done that too, where I'm like, oh, I'm at 1,900 points. I had no idea, or 1,850. Right. So I've done that. I think we all have. If you've been around in this, aspect of gaming for long enough, you've done it at some point. Whether good for you, bad for you, whatever. I think we've all done it. But also, I think some of the onus has to obviously. If we could have caught it or would have seen it, we definitely would have said something and done something about it significantly sooner, right?
Right.
One of the things I think it might be a community way to resolve this is maybe we put some onus back on the players, and maybe us as event organizers or TOs, we say, okay, first round opponent, the obligation is on each of you to check each other's list and make sure that the models that are on the table match the model that's in the list.
Right.
That way we avoid those instances, and look, maybe that's a way to do it, right? And it's also one of those things, you don't know something's a problem until it is, and then you try to retroactively go back and mitigate any future instances of it. And I think that's where we're at now, right? Like, hey, you should probably pay attention to it as event organizers and TOs, but also as a community. So maybe that's a solution, right? Because I don't think the TSA checkpoint is the way to do it, right? Where some long queue. I think we just extend our rounds by 10 or 15 minutes and say, hey, you have this extra time. Your obligation to check each other's lists and make sure that everything is copacetic with models matching.
I think doing it the first round might be the best with a penalty.
Yeah.
And would you penalize the player that checked the list if it was still wrong?
That was honestly another thought of mine, is like, if you don't check each other's list, maybe you get a yellow too. I don't know.
So devil's advocate with this, and I'm not saying like it was the player's intent at all, but there have been bad actors in the past where I don't doubt somebody would just be an asshole and be like, oh, I got my round one, I'm going to put this on the table round two, to where like I think, it's punishing the person who checked it might not work because there's been people who maliciously cheat, and I'm not saying that's what this individual did by any means.
Like that, but okay.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is like, then we know it wasn't accidental, right? We know you pulled out an extra model for round 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, there's that. Yes.
Right. Yep.
I will tell this story because I think it's somewhat appropriate. One year, someone got their custodies judged, and they didn't like the score, their paint score. So they wanted it redone. John Weiermuller from the show, he went to go check it. And he's looking at the models, he's grading them or whatever. And he's like, what about these models here? And it's like a squad of custos that the player had borrowed, but they're not as well painted as the rest of the army.
Yep.
And they're off to the side. They're not with his display. So he's like, oh, well, I mean, they're in my army, but I didn't want them to show on the I didn't want to get them paint judged. And it's like, well, have the whole army paint judged, not just parts that you want.
Not some of the army.
It's like, hey, I have this really cool knight. Don't look at the base color knights. Just look at this one cool one.
Don't look at this 300 point. Just judge this 1,700 over here.
So at the time, you can tell this is early code of conduct because it used to be you had to get 3 yellows to get a red. So John had gave him 2 yellows. One
for each judge.
one for basically because he essentially tried to deceive 2 judges. And then just gave him zeroed out his paint score. So I think it's just one of those things that I think no matter what we do, if someone really wants to game the system, they're going to game it. So I
do still think the first round check is probably good because again,
the best.
Then it and as Nate said previously, right? It shows that you went way to then add something else in because it wasn't in your list, when the two of you reviewed it. So I do think that that is a good idea. But yeah, going any further than that, punishing the other
I'm
player.
Yeah,
I'm sure
because we've got LVO coming up again, and I don't know how many are sold there, but there's like a dozen of us that last in January for like 1,000+ people. Like,
right. So
yeah, it's just not feasible.
well, plus I'm hoping this gets people to be more attentive when people are
Proactive.
telling, not just attentive of like, here's my list. I'm like, is that your list? And then pull up their list on their phone to compare what they're telling them, that I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. So that's something
Or like
we'll have to discuss.
I forgot my detachment.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think
that.
that's
There's been
something-
one at the past two events that's happened
There's
where they
usually
just
at
like
least
don't
one.
copy and paste it. Yeah.
Can we all just use the GW app? Like, why are we using anything else at this point?
Nobody wants to pay the $65 a year.
I'm a little
or $5
I'm a little
a month.
harsher than most. Yeah. Where if you can, if you can buy these armies and then pay for a weekend to come out and play, you can probably kick in a few bucks. Yeah.
You've at least got a friend who has the app. Give them your code, because you should have the book.
Right.
Give them your code to put it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Share the username and password. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say that, but
yeah, I'm not saying
but
that.
yeah, at least copy and at least copy and paste it for you.
We can. That's cool. Totally cool.
Oh, Adam, on your note of like people that should have checked him that played him, one of them is my regular opponent, and I know now that I'm going to be checked every time I go over to his house. So thanks for that.
Don't look at me. That's
it's going to be a practice game. He's going to be like, Nate, line up your army.
You know what? Yeah. You can tell him I said this. I just assume he can't read.
Time for list review.
No, the best part is he's normally very anal about this stuff. So I was actually shocked that he got through him.
What was his excuse?
But it's that assuming.
Is it just is it like, oh, he made it this far, his list has to be fine?
Yeah, probably. Oh, we're already at the round 3, so why would he still like have something incorrect?
Right. Well, obviously no one's going to do that anymore. So
yeah,
or at least they shouldn't at this point, especially if you're going to go to any large event. But we may just do the first round thing, give it a little extra. At least in the first
like
maybe
10,
the first round of each day. I mean, outside of the. I mean, and when we get to the either the shadow, not the shadow. I wouldn't do the shadow round, but maybe on day 3 with the top cut, we can maybe do it before it starts.
I think the judges have to do it during the shadow round.
Yeah, or the top cut. Yeah.
Hey.
I just know
it's really late during, man. It's like 10 o'clock at night.
So
I just want you guys to have to do work.
I know, right? Well, yeah.
Hey, top cut. That's not a very long TSA queue. That's fine, Jesse. You can do it.
I mean,
good luck, Jessie.
That part's fine. We double check lists anyway, and we can check.
There's generally like some time between shadow round start because somebody doesn't know, they go get dinner and then we have to scramble to find them,
it's usually about
or they lose out on their spot.
An hour to an hour. I think we start at 9 or 8:30. It's like an hour because we have to figure out who's actually going to do it. Because some people don't want to do the shadow round. So
yeah, they just want to go drink and gamble in Vegas and fair.
We have Will over there.
That's me.
Quitter.
No thanks.
Look at me, I'm good at the game.
so we have people that are like 6-0 and just don't want to do. They don't want to stay up, or they want to go out, or they didn't expect to be there, and they have plans to go to a show afterwards, or their flight leaves tomorrow morning, and they don't want to miss it.
Yeah,
it costs too much to change. So I get it. You're not forced to be there. No one's forcing you to be there.
Two years ago, my last round opponent was shocked, and I said, "Do you care about playing in the shadow round and trying to make to top cut?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't." So he was so adamant. Oh, we're gonna play this. I just kept feeding him one model at a time.
Yeah,
right. And he was telling him, and he was like, "Oh, you really don't want to play in the shadow round?" I was like, "Don't. I want to go
right
and have fun."
I think we'll call it here. Just a quick recap. If anyone outside of the show ever wants to talk about anything, I'm more than willing to talk, quote unquote, off the record. But because I don't I'm very anti leave evidence around. That's why I'm in my bunker at my home. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to talk, whether it's about this, about the person we had in the beginning, about events that happened at other places, events that happened in the past, because I've been around so long, I know about the most history of most players out there.
Yeah, look them up on Chat GPT.
You can always ask. Don't look me up on Chat
The
GPT.
double secret intel.
Support his only judges.
That's next. But you can. I'm always an open. I'm always an open book. I don't. And it's an issue I have at work, especially of just being an open book and being very forthcoming with my thoughts and opinions. Luckily, I work a union job, so it's not too bad. But Jesse, any final thoughts about the event or about anything?
Check your list and paint your models.
Oh, Nate, anything?
Read the entire rule before you call a judge.
Oh, that was a big thing too. Yes.
Whoa.
That's standard.
Or just
Word.
reading the rule when you don't trust the judges. Nate.
Hey, I checked all the ones I wasn't sure about.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one that didn't believe you, so they checked themselves instead of doing that from the beginning.
Hey, he was right. Good on him.
Will, any advice or final last words about the event? You want to talk about TCC real quick or your next event?
Yeah, I'll do both. Please, God, everyone that's listening and watching, just learn how to consolidate. Just please, if you can just one thing for me, just focus on that rule alone, and that would alleviate a lot of questions. And two, yeah, I'll definitely talk about the TCC real quick. We're a series or circuit of events, here within Texas. We're the Texas Championship Circuit. We do things to foster all the way down from like the stores at maybe an RTT or weekly meetup level, all the way up to large grand tournaments that have hundreds of players at them, not unlike the Lone Star Open. So we're all about fostering the community and building it up and bolstering it. We've even started doing events for kids at 1,000 points so they can kind of acclimate, not to humble brag, but they started that at the Scions tournament at War Games Con in June, and my son actually won. He went 3-0 and had a really great time. So that's what we're all about. That's what we're going to keep doing. Been doing it for years. Our fellow godfathers of the Texas 40K scene. We're going to keep doing it and keep building it up and bolstering it and just supporting the community, man. That's what it's all about. Making friends and having a good time.
Okay. What about your event, Texas Open?
Yeah, Texas Open. We're going to aim for kind of that late Jan, early Feb timeframe this year with some of the moves that FLG had to make.
Yeah.
We knew about it in advance, both Nate and myself as kind of the operators of the event. So we, kind of graciously bowed out of the August timeframe. Most of our summer months here were kind of already booked up, so there wasn't really an opportunity or a good spot for us to kind of move forward just a little bit or move back just a little bit without stepping some of our other events' toes. But with FLG kind of vacating some of that space in that Jan-Feb timeframe and it working out really well with no other events here in Texas kind of in that timeframe as a TC circuit, we've decided to kind of take that up and make that our new landing spot. And it still works out for our current season within the TCC because it runs from July to June. So that just worked out perfectly where we're still in the same season. We're just moving, kind of into the middle beginning. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, on my end, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, all that other good stuff. John and Danny and we'll see if Tom comes back, but they should be back in the next episode. Again, thanks for listening. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow. Hey, everybody. Thanks. Well, Jesus, now I fucked that up.